They keep saying I'm some sort of sexual innovator. I never thought of any of my poses being sexual in any way. I never had anything like that in my mind when I was posing. They tried to make me up to look like Joan Crawford. They bunched my hair way out on the sides, penciled my eyebrows long, big eyebrows way up high, like she used to wear, and a great big wide mouth, twice as wide as mine. And I hardly recognized myself when I saw the screen test. For them in the nude at first. I wore bikinis. And I never thought I was doing anything wrong when I started posing nude, even for the camera clubs. Because after all, I don't believe God disapproves of nudity. He put Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden and naked as jaybirds. And they probably would have been naked all their lives if they hadn't disobeyed him and he ran them out of the garden. Upsetting is that over the years, especially in the last 10 years, they keep referring to me in the magazines and the newspapers and other places as the Queen of Bondage. The only bondage posing I ever did was for Irving Klaw and his sister Paula. Usually every other Saturday, he had a session for 4 or 5 hours with 4 or 5 models. And a couple of extra photographers. And in order to get paid, you had to do an hour of bondage. And that was the only reason I did it. I never had any inkling along that line. I don't really disapprove of it. I think you can do your own thing, as long as you're not hurting anybody else. That's been my philosophy ever since I was a little girl. I never looked down my nose at it. In fact, we used to laugh at some of the requests that came through the mail, even from judges and lawyers and doctors and people in high positions. Even back in the 50s, they went in for the whips and the ties and everything else. I never had any inkling toward it. The only other reason I agreed to do it was because the men were never allowed to tie any of the girls up. Only Paula was allowed to tie us up, and she was very gentle and took her time. I just had one bad experience where I was tied spread-eagled between two big beams with my arms up and out and my legs spread and my feet were about 6 inches off the ground. And before they got through taking what seemed like umpteen pictures, I thought it was going to pull the sockets right out of my shoulders. And I started hollering, "Hurry up, I'm hurting." That's the only bad experience I had during the bondage. And guess what? Later, Irving Klaw told me that these pictures of me spread-eagled off the ground sold more than any pictures he ever sold in all his years of selling pinups and even movie star pictures. Those things of me in agony. Well, you know, I did try bondage, just one time. And before he tied me up, he said, "Now I'm going to step out of the room and you cover yourself up with a sheet. And it's up to you if you want to wear panties or not. But if you do, you know I'm going to have to rip them to get them off you once you're tied up." Well, I don't know what he was thinking because my panties were expensive and I didn't want them ripped. So when he came back in the door, I was nude under that sheet. And I told him so. And that was fine with him. I wouldn't want to see a model when she's old and out of shape. Who would? There's nothing to look at. You want to look at them when they're young and beautiful with beautiful bodies. I didn't look bad in the 50s, and I was in the best of health and had my figure and everything. I've only started falling apart in the last couple of years. I hate old age. Do you have any difficulty in telling it like you should? Any difficulty in answering my questions? Some of your questions I have difficulty answering because I don't know just how you mean them. Before that time, you had called her mother? Yes, sir. What led to the change? The affair with her stepsister? So that the affair was serious enough to have you change from calling her mother, do you mean? I did not choose to call her mother. Have you ever called her mother since? Yes, occasionally. To her face, I mean. Yes. Often? No, sir. Seldom? Seldom. I don't think it's degrading to women or disrespectful to women. Those pictures weren't hurting anybody. It's just something that someone likes to have. Pictures of somebody tied up in the trunk of a car. You did not regard her as your mother? Not exactly, no, although she came there when I was very young. Were your relations toward her that of daughter and mother? In some ways it was, and in some ways it was not. In what ways was it? I declined to answer. Why? Because I don't know how to answer it. In what ways was it not? I did not call her mother. Did you give to the officer the same skirt you had on the day of the tragedy? Yes, sir. Do you know whether there was any blood on the skirt? No, sir. Assume that there was. Do you know how it came there? No, sir. Have you any explanation of how it might come there? No, sir. Did you know there was any blood on the skirt you gave them? No, sir. Assume that there was. Can you give any explanation of how it came there on the dress skirt? No, sir. Have you offered any? No, sir. Have you ever offered any? No, sir. Father went to the door and let him in. I did not hear anything for some time except just the voices. Then I heard the man say, I would like to have that place. I would like to have that store. Father said, I am not willing to let your business go in there. And the man said, I thought with your reputation for liking money, you would let your store for anything. Father said, you are mistaken. Then they talked a while, and then their voices were louder, and I heard Father order him out and went to the front door with him. What did he say? He said he had stayed long enough and he would thank him to go. was trying to become president, you know, and he was on this crime-busting crusade, especially on pornography, and he ruined poor Irving Klaw. I'm telling you, he caused the man eventually to die. Irving quit his business, went to Florida, retired, and was never heard from again by anybody who ever knew him before. All because they had him on the stand, accusing him of being the instigator and the biggest dealer of pornography. Irving Klaw never even sold a nude picture in his life. Even when we were posing in lingerie, he was so careful not to do anything against the rules of the post office, because the photos went through the mail, you know. We sometimes had to wear 2 pairs of panties. We always had to have the nipples covered. Not even a shadow of darkness, you know, down where it wasn't allowed. That's how careful he was. I'm telling you, they were dirty dogs, those members of the Kefauver Committee. They were going to make me testify against Irving and say that he was a seller of pornography. And they came to see me, and I told them, no. No way Irving ever did anything like that. To the room? No, sir. Looked in at the door? I opened the door and rushed back. Saw his face? No, I did not see his face because it was all covered with blood. You saw where his face was bleeding? Yes, sir. Did you see blood on the floor? No, sir. You saw his face covered with blood? Yes, sir. Did you see his eyeball hanging out? Yeah, no, sir. See the gash where his face was laid open? No, sir. Nothing of the kind? No, sir. having sex with the fellow in Annapolis. And I wonder if she was thinking about me when she was doing it. And I wonder if she told him afterward that she did, just to make me feel better. Bettie never killed